There is a place where time moves differently, where the hours stretch like honey and the world grows soft around the edges. It sits beside a quiet creek in the foothills, a small fishing cabin built from weathered pine, its wooden planks silvered by decades of sun and rain. The cabin has stood here for 70 years, maybe more, and it has watched the seasons turn with the patience of ancient things. You are here now, arriving as the afternoon light slants golden through the trees. The drive up the winding mountain road is behind you, and with it, all the noise and hurry of the world below. Your car sits in the clearing, engine ticking as it cools, and you stand for a moment, simply breathing in the mountain air. It smells of pine sap and wild herbs, of clean water moving over smooth stones, of earth and growing things. The cabin door opens with a gentle creak, welcoming you into its dim, cool interior. Inside, everything is simple and worn and beautiful in its simplicity. There is a narrow bed with a patchwork quilt, faded to soft colors like a watercolor painting left in the sun. There is a small wooden table, its surface marked with the rings of coffee cups and the scratches of many years. A stone fireplace takes up one wall, its hearth swept clean, waiting. 2 windows frame views of the forest, their glass rippled with age, making the trees outside shimmer slightly, as if seen through water. You set down your bag and feel something loosen in your chest, some tightness you had forgotten you were carrying. The cabin asks nothing of you. It does not need to be impressed or entertained. It simply exists, solid and real and present. And in its presence, you remember how to simply exist too. The afternoon is warm, and you leave the cabin door open, letting the breeze move through. It carries the sound of the creek, a constant murmuring that is not quite music, but something better. A voice that has been speaking since before humans gave it a name and will go on speaking long after. You walk toward that sound, following a path worn smooth by generations of feet, a narrow trail between lupines and Indian paintbrush, past the gnarled roots of an old ponderosa pine. The creek appears suddenly, as mountain creeks do, a ribbon of clear water moving over a bed of rounded stones. It is perhaps 15 feet wide here, shallow enough that you can see every pebble on its bottom, every small fish darting in its current. The water catches the light and throws it back in fragments, 1,000 tiny mirrors, each one reflecting a piece of sky. You find a flat rock beside the water and sit. The stone is sun-warmed beneath you, and you can feel that warmth seeping through your clothes, into your muscles, easing away the last remnants of tension. You take off your shoes and dip your feet into the creek. The water is shockingly cold, snowmelt from higher elevations, and it makes you gasp and then laugh. Your feet adjust, and the coldness becomes something else, an aliveness, a clarity, a reminder that you have a body, and that body can feel. The creek speaks in many voices at once. Here, where it slides over a smooth stone, it murmurs low and steady. There, where it tumbles over a small drop, it chatters and splashes. Further down, where it has carved a deeper pool, it barely speaks at all, just a quiet breathing in and out. You listen to all these voices and find that they are speaking directly to something deep inside you, something that does not need words to understand. A dragonfly appears, its body an iridescent blue that seems almost unreal in its brightness. It hovers above the water, its wings a blur, and then darts away so quickly you almost doubt you saw it. But there is another and another, a whole ballet of dragonflies weaving patterns in the air above the creek. You watch them, forgetting to think, just seeing. Time passes. You're not sure how much. The quality of light has changed, grown richer, more golden. The shadows of the trees have lengthened, reaching across the creek toward you. You realize you're hungry, not urgently, but with a pleasant, healthy emptiness. You rise from your rock, your feet tingling as they return to the warm air, and make your way back up the path to the cabin. Inside, you light the old propane stove and set a pot of water to boil. You have brought simple food, pasta, a jar of sauce, some vegetables, bread, cheese. As you cook, moving slowly in the small kitchen space, you notice how present you are to each small action. The sound of the knife against the cutting board, the smell of garlic and herbs warming, the steam rising from the pot, catching the evening light from the window. You eat at the small table, looking out at the forest. A doe steps delicately through the trees, pauses, looks toward the cabin with her large, dark eyes. She's not afraid, only watchful. She lowers her head to nibble at something, then moves on, silent as a shadow. You finish your meal in this good company, this communion with the quiet world outside your window. As darkness comes, it comes gently, not all at once, but in stages. First, the light withdraws from the forest floor, leaving the tree trunks glowing for a moment in the last horizontal rays. Then, the sky above the trees turns from blue to violet to a deep, rich indigo. The first stars appear, and you step outside to see them properly. The sky here is not like the sky in the city. There, you see a few bright stars, if you're lucky, fighting to be seen through the light pollution and haze. Here, the sky is thick with stars, layer upon layer of them, so many that they blur together in places into a luminous mist. You stand with your head tilted back, and the stars seem to wheel slowly above you, and you remember, truly remember, not just know intellectually, that you are standing on a sphere turning in space, held to its surface by invisible forces spinning through in cosmos so vast that your mind cannot hold it. But instead of making you feel small, this bigness makes you feel held. You are part of this. The calcium in your bones was forged in the heart of an exploding star. The iron in your blood. You are made of star stuff, and you are standing under the stars that made you. And it all fits together in a way that is both mysterious and exactly right. You go back inside, light the oil lamp on the table rather than the electric bulb. The golden light is softer, kinder. You sit in the old armchair by the window and pick up a book you have brought, but you find you cannot focus on the words. Your attention keeps drifting to the window, to the darkness outside, and the silver edge of moonlight beginning to touch the trees. Your attention drifts to the sound of the creek, still audible, always there, like a heartbeat. Eventually you set the book aside and simply sit, hands resting in your lap, breathing slowly. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. This moment is complete exactly as it is. When you finally rise and move toward in the bed, your body feels heavy with a good tiredness, the kind that comes from fresh air and simple activities and the absence of stress. You slip between the cool cotton sheets, pull the soft weight of the quilt over you. The pillow smells faintly of lavender, and you settle your head into it, feeling it shape itself around you. Through the window, you can see a slice of night sky, moon has risen higher now, 3/4 full, its light turning the world to silver and shadow. An owl calls from somewhere in the forest, a low, questioning sound. Another answers from farther away. You listen to this conversation in a language you do not speak, but somehow understand. Your breathing slows, deepens. Your muscles release, one by one, letting go of the last holdings of the day. The creek continues its endless song, and somewhere in that song is a lullaby meant just for you, and you let yourself sink into it. Let yourself be carried by those gentle waters toward sleep. You wake to birdsong, a chorus so rich and layered that for a moment you simply lie still, eyes closed, listening. There must be a dozen different voices in this dawn choir, each singing its own melody, yet somehow they all weave together into a harmony that feels both wild and perfect. You recognize none of the individual songs, cannot name the singers, and this not knowing feels like a gift rather than a lack. The light through the window is soft and new, the particular quality of light that exists only in the hour after sunrise, when the world seems freshly made. You stretch beneath the quilt, feeling the pleasant stiffness in your muscles from yesterday's travel, and smile at the unfamiliar ceiling, at the way dust motes drift lazily through the shaft of sunlight. There is no alarm, no schedule, no list of things that must be done. There is only this morning spreading out before you like an open hand. You rise slowly, padding barefoot across the cool wooden floor to the kitchen. The cabin has no coffee maker, only an old percolator that must be set on the stove. You fill it with water from the tap. The cabin has its own well, and the water is cold and clean and tastes faintly of minerals and stone. You measure out coffee grounds, set the pot on the flame, and wait. While the coffee percolates, you step outside. The air is cool, almost cold, and you wrap your arms around yourself, but you do not go back for a sweater. There is something delicious about this slight chill, the way it makes you feel alert and alive. The grass is silver with dew, and when you walk across it toward the creek, your feet leave dark green trails. The creek looks different in the morning light. Yesterday it was all gold and warmth. Now it is clear and bright, and somehow more itself, its voice sharper, more articulate. The water is so transparent that it barely seems to be there at all, just a moving lens that magnifies the stones beneath it, making each one look larger and closer than it really is. You kneel at the edge and cup your hands in the water, bring them to your face. The cold is shocking and wonderful, clearing away the last wisps of sleep. You drink from your hands, and the water tastes like the mountain itself, like snow and stone and the roots of ancient trees. A kingfisher arrives in a flash of blue, landing on a branch that overhangs the creek. It is a small bird, compact and fierce, with a shaggy crest and a long, sharp beak. It watches the water with absolute focus, its entire being concentrated into seeing. Then so quickly you almost miss it, it dives, a straight plunge that barely disturbs the surface, and emerges a moment later with a small fish silver in its beak. It flies to another branch and tilts back its head, swallowing the fish whole. Then it ruffles its feathers, shakes itself, and settles in to watch the water again. You watch the kingfisher, and the kingfisher watches the water, and the water moves on past both of you, indifferent and perfect, going where it has always gone. There is something in this that speaks to you, though you're not sure you could say what it is. Something about the way each thing does what it is made to do, without question, without doubt. The smell of coffee reaches you from the cabin, and you stand, brushing bits of grass from your knees, and return. You pour a cup and take it to the small porch, where there is an old wooden chair, its paint long since weathered away. You sit, and the chair creaks beneath you in a friendly way, like a greeting. The coffee is strong and hot, and you cradle the cup in both hands, letting the warmth seep into your palms. The forest around the cabin is waking fully now. A squirrel scolds from somewhere in the branches above, a rapid chittering that sounds like laughter. Butterflies begin to appear, yellow and white, drifting among the wildflowers that grow in the clearing. The sunlight strengthens, and with it comes warmth, the promise of another beautiful day. You think about the day ahead, but loosely, without gripping. Perhaps you will explore the trail that leads upstream, see where the creek comes from. Perhaps you will simply stay here, reading and resting and watching the light move across the cabin walls. Both options feel equally good, which is perhaps the best measure of a true vacation, when doing and not doing hold the same appeal. After a second cup of coffee and a simple breakfast of bread and jam and a peach whose juice runs down your chin, you decide to walk. You fill a water bottle, put on proper shoes, tuck a small pack with a few provisions over your shoulders. The day is warming quickly now, and you choose the lightest shirt you have brought, knowing you will likely be grateful for it later. The trail upstream is narrower than the one that leads down to your sitting rock. It has the feeling of an animal path, which it probably is, made by deer and elk and perhaps the occasional black bear, though you hope not to encounter the latter. The path winds through tall grass that brushes against your legs, leaving seeds on your socks. It passes beneath ponderosas and Douglas firs, through patches of sunlight and cool shadow. The creek is your constant companion, sometimes close enough to touch, sometimes hidden behind thickets of willow and alder. You follow its voice when you cannot see it, and it guides you upward, always upward, into the mountain. You walk slowly, stopping often. There is a cluster of mushrooms growing from a rotted log, their caps a brilliant orange. You crouch to look at them, see how the gills underneath are layered like the pages of a book. You do not pick them. You do not know if they are safe, but you admire them, these small works of art growing in the shadows. Further on, you find a place where the creek has carved a small grotto, a pocket in the stone where water pools before tumbling out again. Ferns grow around this pool, their fronds unfurling in spirals that remind you of ocean waves frozen in green. You sit beside the pool and trail your fingers in the water, watching the ripples spread out and interfere with each other, creating patterns that seem almost intentional, like a message written in waves. A chipmunk appears on a rock nearby, its cheeks stuffed with seeds, making it look comically round. It eyes you with bright curiosity, trying to determine if you are a threat or merely an interesting large rock that has appeared in its territory. You stay very still, and after a moment, the chipmunk decides you are harmless and goes about its business, running along the rock and disappearing into a crevice You continue walking. The trail grows steeper, and you feel it in your legs. A pleasant burn that reminds you that you have muscles, that you are using them. Your breathing deepens. Sweat beads on your forehead, and you pause to wipe it away, to drink from your water bottle. The water is still cold from the cabin's tap, and it tastes infinitely better after the exertion of climbing. The forest changes as you gain elevation. The trees are smaller here, twisted by wind and weather. There are more open spaces, meadows filled with wildflowers, lupines and purple spikes, columbines nodding on delicate stems, paintbrush in shades of red and orange. Bees work among the flowers, their humming another layer in the forest's constant song. You emerge from the trees into a larger meadow, and ahead you can see where the creek comes from, a series of small waterfalls cascading down the mountainside, white water tumbling over dark rocks, gathering in pools before falling again. It is more beautiful than you expected, and you stand for a long moment, just looking, letting your eyes follow the water from pool to pool, from fall to fall. There is a large, flat rock near the base of the lowest waterfall, and you make your way to it, settle yourself on its sun-warmed surface. From here, you can see the whole meadow spreading out below you, the cabin somewhere far below and out of sight, the valley beyond, hazy with distance. You can see the way the creek you have been following is just one thread in a whole network of water, streams, and rivulets coming together from all over the mountain, joining and growing stronger. You lie back on the rock, using your pack as a pillow, and look up at the sky. It is a deep, flawless blue, the kind of blue that seems to go on forever. A hawk circles high above, riding the thermals, its wings spread wide and motionless. You watch it turn and turn, describing wide circles in the air, and you think about how easy it looks, that flight, how effortless. But you know that it takes tremendous skill, that the hawk is constantly making tiny adjustments, reading the air, working even when it looks most still. You close your eyes, and the sun is warm on your face, and the sound of the waterfall is loud enough to drown out thought. It is just sound, just sensation, the warmth of sun, the coolness of breeze, the hardness of rock beneath your back, the rushing of water. You drift in this sea of sensation, not quite asleep, but not quite awake either, in that pleasant borderland where consciousness becomes soft and loose. Time dissolves. You might be here for 20 minutes or 2 hours. When you finally stir, the sun has moved, and you are half in shadow now. You sit up, blinking, feeling rested in a way that goes deeper than mere sleep. You eat the sandwich you packed, drink more water, and simply sit, watching the play of light on the falling water, the way it throws up a fine mist that catches the sun and makes small, fleeting rainbows. A butterfly lands on your knee, opens and closes its wings slowly, then flies away. A marmot appears from between two rocks, stands up on its hind legs to get a better look at you, whistles once, a sharp, piercing sound, and disappears again. Eventually, you know it is time to return. The afternoon is wearing on, and you have a long walk back. You shoulder your pack, take one last look at the waterfall, fixing it in your memory, and turn back down the trail. The descent is easier than the climb, and you move more quickly, but still with awareness, watching where you place your feet on the uneven ground. The forest receives you back into its green shade, and the temperature drops pleasantly. You follow the creek back down, And now you notice things you missed on the way up. A particular tree with bark that spirals around its trunk, a boulder covered in soft moss, a bend in the creek where the water has created a perfect circular pool. By the time you reach the cabin, the light is beginning to take on that golden quality again, the angle that means evening is approaching. You are tired, but it is a good tiredness, a satisfying tiredness. Your legs ache. Your face feels warm from the sun. You are thirsty and hungry and exactly where you want to be. The cabin welcomes you back with its familiar dimness, its particular smell of wood and stone and time. You drop your pack by the door, kick off your dusty shoes, and go straight to the kitchen. You drink 2 full glasses of water, one after the other, feeling it cool your throat and settle into your belly. You splash water on your face, your neck, your forearms, washing away the trail dust and sweat. Then you take one of the camp chairs from inside and carry it outside to the clearing in front of the cabin. You position it to face west, where the sun is beginning its slow descent toward the ridge of mountains. You sink into the chair with a sigh of contentment and let your muscles begin to unknot. This is a time you have always loved, this late afternoon hour when the day is loosening its grip but has not yet let go. The quality of light is unlike any other time, thick and golden, almost visible as it slants through the trees, catching on particles of dust and pollen and making the air itself seem to glow. Everything the light touches becomes more beautiful, more itself. The bark of the trees turns copper and amber. The grass becomes incandescent. Even the worn boards of the cabin seem to remember when they were trees, seem to hold some of that ancient life in their silvered wood. You have brought a notebook with you on this trip, thinking you might write, but so far you have not opened it. Now you retrieve it from inside, along with a pen, and return to your chair. You open the notebook to a blank page and hold the pen ready, but no words come. That is fine. You set the pen down and simply hold the notebook in your lap, a promise to yourself that if words want to come, there is a place for them. Instead of writing, you find yourself drawing, something you have not done since you were a child. Your hand moves almost without your conscious direction, sketching the line of the mountains against the sky, the shapes of the trees, the rough outline of the cabin. You are not trying to make art just to really see what is in front of you. And in the act of drawing, even these simple, clumsy lines, you do see more. You notice the way the roof line of the cabin sags slightly in the middle, giving it a friendly, settled look. You notice that the trees are not all the same height, that they form a jagged edge against the sky rather than a smooth line. You notice the way shadows fall where they are darkest, where they soften and blur. A hummingbird appears, attracted perhaps by the red of your shirt or simply curious about this large, still creature in its territory. It hovers in front of your face for a moment, close enough that you can hear the rapid whir of its wings, can see the iridescent green of its throat. Its eyes are like black beads, bright and aware. Then it zips away, faster than thought, to investigate a columbine growing near the cabin's foundation. You watch the hummingbird move from flower to flower, its beak probing deep into each blossom. And you think about efficiency, about how this tiny bird's entire life is measured in heartbeats that come hundreds of times a minute, how it must eat constantly just to survive. how it migrates thousands of miles on wings smaller than a child's hand. What must the world look like to a hummingbird? How strange and slow must you seem, sitting motionless in your chair. The light continues to change, growing richer and more saturated. The shadows lengthen and deepen. A cool breeze picks up, carrying the scent of the forest, pine resin and leaf mold, and the green smell of growing things. You close your notebook and set it aside, wrap your arms around yourself against a slight chill. This is the hour when day animals begin to settle and night animals begin to stir. You see this transition happening around you. The birds' songs change, become less urgent. The squirrels make their last foraging runs before retiring to their nests. The butterflies disappear, and in their place, other creatures begin to emerge. A bat flickers past, so quick you almost doubt you saw it. Another follows, and another. They are hunting the insects that swarm in the cooling air, and their flight is nothing like the smooth glide of birds. It is all sharp angles and sudden turns, a jerky, erratic path that somehow never results in collision. You think about staying outside until full dark, but the evening is growing cold, and you are hungry again, your body reminding you that you walked far today and burned many calories. You gather your chair and notebook and go inside, closing the door against the chill. You light the propane stove again and consider what to make for dinner. Your provisions are simple, but there is a pleasure in this simplicity, in working with what you have, rather than having endless choices. You decide on a soup, canned tomatoes, beans, an onion, some dried herbs. While it simmers, you cut thick slices of bread and toast them directly over the flame, watching to make sure they do not burn, flipping them at just the right moment. You rub the toasted bread with a cut clove of garlic, drizzle it with olive oil, sprinkle it with salt. The soup is ready, and you ladle it into a bowl, arrange the bread on a plate, and take your dinner to the table. You eat slowly, savoring each bite. The soup is hot and savory, and the bread is crispy on the outside and soft within, pungent with garlic. Simple food, but perfect after a day of walking and fresh air. Through the window, you watch the last light drain from the sky. The trees become silhouettes, black against a dark blue that fades to purple at the horizon. The first stars appear, then more and more, until the sky is pricked with light. You wash your dishes in the small sink, dry them, put them away. The cabin's order pleases you, everything in its place, nothing excess, nothing wasted. You have always been someone who accumulates things in daily life, who lets papers pile up and drawers fill with objects you might need someday. But here, in this small space, you understand the appeal of austerity, of owning only what is needed and useful and beautiful. You build a fire in the fireplace, not because you need the heat, the evening is cool but not cold, but because you want the light, the presence. You crumple old newspaper, arrange kindling in a careful structure, place 2 logs on top. You strike a match, touch it to the paper, and watch the flame catch and spread. The kindling begins to crackle, and smoke rises up the chimney. You add more small pieces of wood, coaxing the fire along, and soon it is burning steadily, cheerfully, casting dancing shadows on the cabin walls. You pull the armchair close to the fire and settle into it with a blanket over your legs. The fire is mesmerizing, endlessly interesting. You watch the way the flames move, never the same twice. You watch the wood slowly transform, its substance consumed by heat and light, turning to glowing coals and eventually to ash. It is destruction, but beautiful destruction, useful destruction. The wood was cut for this purpose, dried for this purpose, and now it is fulfilling its purpose, giving warmth and light, before returning to the earth as ash that will nourish new growth. The fire pops and sparks, and you watch an ember spiral upward, glowing bright orange before it cools and goes dark. Outside, an owl calls and another answers. You think about owls, how they can turn their heads more than halfway around, how their flight is silent because of the special structure of their feathers, how they can hunt in total darkness using only sound. The world is full of such marvels, such ingenious solutions to the problem of existence. Your thoughts drift and soften, become less like thoughts and more like dreams. The warmth of the fire makes you drowsy. Your eyes grow heavy. You let your head rest against the back of the chair and allow yourself to drift, not quite asleep, but not quite awake, existing in that warm, liminal space where the boundaries of self become porous and you feel continuous with the cabin, the fire, the night outside. The fire burns down to coals, glowing red in the darkness. You stir, realizing you have been sitting here for hours, though it feels like only minutes. Your neck is stiff from your position in the chair, and you stretch, hearing your spine crack. The cabin has grown cool away from the fire, and you decide it is time for bed. You bank the fire, making sure no live sparks remain that could pose a danger. You turn off the lamp. By the light of the moon coming through the windows, you make your way to the bed and slip beneath the covers. They are cool against your skin, and you curl on your side, pulling the quilt up to your chin. Outside, the creek continues its endless conversation with the stone. The owls call back and forth. The wind moves through the pines with a sound like distant ocean waves. You listen to these night sounds, feel the cabin around you like a shell, protective and perfect. Your body is tired in the best way, tired from use, from movement, from fresh air and simple activities. You think about the waterfall you saw today, the way the water fell and never ran out, fed by springs and snowmelt and rain, part of a cycle so old it makes human time seem like nothing. You think about the kingfisher diving and emerging, each dive an act of faith that the water will yield what is needed. You think about the hummingbird, burning so bright and so brief, living at such intensity that it makes your own life seem almost sedentary by comparison. These thoughts do not trouble you, they comfort you. They remind you that you are part of something larger, that your life, whatever its struggles and confusions and questions, is embedded in this vast web of being, this community of creatures and plants and stones and water, all existing together, all dependent on each other in ways both visible and invisible. Your breathing deepens, your muscles release their last holdings. The bed seems to soften beneath you, or perhaps you soften into it. Through the window you can see a piece of the night sky, and as you watch, a meteor streaks across it, a brief, bright line that is there and then gone, so quickly you almost think you imagined it. But you did not imagine it. It was real, a fragment of rock burning up in the atmosphere, giving its substance to light. Like the wood in the fire, you think sleepily, everything giving itself to something else, everything transforming. You close your eyes and let the darkness take you, Let yourself sink into sleep like a stone sinking into water, down and down into the soft depths where dreams wait. You wake in the deep of night to a new sound, rain on the cabin roof. It starts as a whisper, a tentative pattering, and then grows stronger, more insistent, until it becomes a steady drumming that fills the darkness with its rhythm. You lie in bed, not yet fully awake, and listen. Rain on a metal roof is one of the great sounds of the world, you think. It is both purposeful and purposeless, both urgent and patient. Each drop falls because it must, because gravity demands it, because the clouds can no longer hold it. But there is no hurry in rain, no anxiety. It will fall until it is done falling, and then it will stop. It does not worry whether it is enough or too much. It simply is. You roll onto your back and stare up at the dark ceiling, invisible above you. The room is very dark, no moonlight now, the sky hidden behind clouds. But the darkness is not oppressive. It is soft and close, like a blanket, and threaded through it is this sound of rain, this ancient sound that humans have been hearing since there have been humans to hear, huddled in caves or huts or tents or cabins, listening to water fall from the sky. You wonder what time it is, but do not reach for your phone to check. Time is irrelevant here. It is night, and it is raining, and you are warm and dry. That is all that matters. The rhythm of the rain is not regular. Sometimes it intensifies, becomes a roar. Then it softens to a gentle patter. Then it finds a medium pace and holds it. You try to detect a pattern, but cannot. It is random, or at least appears so, though you know that each drop's fall is determined by countless factors: the size of the drop, the speed of the wind, the shape of the cloud, the temperature of the air. Nothing is truly random, only more complex than you can comprehend. Thunder rolls across the valley, low and long. You count without meaning to: 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the lightning comes, a flash that momentarily illuminates the cabin, turning the windows into rectangles of white light. In that brief instant, you see the room around you, familiar and strange at once. Then darkness returns, deeper than before. Another rumble of thunder, closer this time. You count: 1, 2, and lightning flashes again. The storm is moving your way, coming up the valley. You feel a small thrill, a pleasant excitement. You are safe in the cabin, dry and protected, but you are close enough to the storm to feel its power, to be reminded of how small you are, how vast and indifferent the forces of weather. The rain intensifies. It is truly pouring now, a deluge. You hear it not just on the roof, but against the windows, drumming on the wooden walls. You hear it running off the eaves in streams, hear it hitting the ground outside. The creek will be rising, you think. All this water finding its way downhill, joining the stream, turning it from a clear trickle to a rushing torrent. Lightning and thunder come together now, almost simultaneous. The storm is overhead. The flash is blinding, and the thunder is not a rumble but a crack, so loud you feel it in your chest. You sit up in bed, wide awake now, your heart beating fast. It is not fear exactly, but something close. Awe, perhaps. Respect for the power of the storm. Another flash, and in its light, you see the rain itself, a silver curtain between the cabin and the forest, falling so thick it obscures everything beyond a few feet. Then darkness again, and thunder that seems to shake the cabin's foundation. You get out of bed, Fumble your way to the table, find the oil lamp, and light it. The warm glow pushes back the darkness, makes the cabin feel like itself again. You wrap the quilt around your shoulders and go to the window. Press your face close to the glass. Outside, the world has been transformed. The clearing in front of the cabin is a mass of puddles and streaming water. The trees thrash in the wind, their branches whipping back and forth. Leaves and small twigs fly past the window. Lightning flashes again, and for an instant you see it all clearly. The forest lit up like day, every detail sharp and vivid. Then darkness and the afterimage burns on your retinas, making you blink. You have always loved storms, but rarely get to experience them like this. Away from the city, away from the insulation of modern buildings with their thick walls and double-paned windows and white noise that drowns out weather. Here, there is only the thin shell of the cabin between you and the storm, and you feel permeable to it, as if it could sweep right through you. The wind picks up, and rain begins to blow in under the cabin door. You find a towel and stuff it against the gap. But still, the wind finds ways in through cracks in the walls, around the window frames. The cabin creaks and groans, and you are reminded that it is old, that it has weathered many storms, that it will weather this one too. You return to bed but do not lie down. Instead, you sit propped up against the pillows, the quilt still around your shoulders, and watch the storm through the window. Lightning, thunder, rain, wind, the elements in conversation with each other, a wild symphony. You listen and watch with a kind of reverence, feeling grateful to witness this, to be small and human in the face of such grand impersonal forces. Gradually, slowly, the storm begins to move on. The lightning grows less frequent, the thunder more distant. The rain continues but loses its fury, becomes gentler, steadier. The wind calms. The trees stop their thrashing and stand still again, dripping. You blow out the lamp and lie back down. The darkness is complete once more, but it feels different now, cleaner somehow, washed. The air that seeps in through the cracks smells fresh and alive, like ozone and wet earth. You pull the quilt up and settle into the pillows, and the sound of the rain becomes a lullaby, a soft, steady rhythm that wraps around you. Your eyes grow heavy, your thoughts slow and blur. The last thing you're aware of is the rain. Always the rain, falling on the roof, falling on the forest, falling on the creek, joining water to water in the endless cycle of weather and world. When you wake again, it is morning. The storm has passed, and pale light fills the cabin. You can tell immediately that something has changed, the quality of the air, the sounds outside. You rise and go to the window, and what you see makes you catch your breath. Everything is new. The rain has washed the world clean, and now every surface sparkles with water drops that catch the early light. The trees look greener, more vivid. The grass bends under the weight of moisture. Everywhere you look, there are small pools and puddles reflecting the pale sky. You dress quickly and step outside, not bothering with shoes at first. The grass is soaking wet, cold against your bare feet, and you laugh at the sensation, at how alive it makes you feel. The air is cool and incredibly fresh, and when you breathe it in, it seems to clear something in your chest, some stale accumulation you did not know was there. The creek, you can hear it before you see it, and it sounds different, louder, fuller, more insistent. You make your way down the path, your feet squishing in the mud, and when you reach your usual spot, you stop in amazement. The creek has transformed. What was yesterday a gentle stream, perhaps a foot deep at its center, is now a rushing torrent. It fills its banks completely and flows fast, brown with silt and debris. Small branches and leaves spin in the current. The water crashes over rocks with real force, throwing up spray. The voice of the creek, which was yesterday a murmur, is now a roar. You stand watching this transformation, this demonstration of water's power. All that rain falling across miles of mountainside has gathered and concentrated here, and for this moment, the creek is wild. By tomorrow, maybe by tonight, it will calm again, will clear, will return to its usual gentle self. But right now, it is something else entirely. Urgent, powerful, alive in a different way. A branch comes rushing past, tumbling end over end in the current. You watch it disappear around the bend downstream. Somewhere, miles from here, it will wash up on a bank or catch in roots, and there it will slowly rot and return to the soil, completing its transformation from tree to wood to earth. You stay by the creek for a long time, hypnotized by its movement, by the sheer quantity of water flowing past. It makes you think about thirst, about drought, about all the places in the world where water is scarce, where people would see this abundance and weep with longing. You think about how lucky you are, how privileged to stand here watching this water rush past, knowing you can drink whenever you wish, wash whenever you wish. That water is not something you must carry on your back or ration carefully. Eventually you return to the cabin, your feet muddy, your pants soaked to the knees from the wet grass. You clean yourself up, make coffee, eat breakfast. The day is clearing, the clouds are breaking up, and patches of blue appear between them. Sunlight breaks through in long, angled shafts, and where it touches the wet earth, steam begins to rise, creating a mist that drifts between the trees like something alive. You decide to spend this day close to the cabin, to not wander far. Yesterday's hike tired you more than you realized, and there is something appealing about staying near, about being simple and still. You bring out the camp chair again and position it where you can see both the cabin and the forest edge. You bring your notebook, and this time, words do come. You write about the storm, trying to capture the sound of the rain, the power of the thunder. You write about the creek, about transformation, about how nothing stays the same, not even for a day. You write about being here, about what it feels like to step out of your usual life and into this simpler rhythm. The words come slowly, thoughtfully, and you do not judge them or try to make them perfect. You simply let them flow onto the page like water flowing downhill, following the path of least resistance. Hours pass without your noticing. The sun climbs higher, and the day grows warm. The mist burns off, and the puddles begin to shrink. Birds sing from the trees, delighted with the freshness after the rain. A family of quail marches through the clearing, the adults in front, a string of chicks behind them, each one a tiny, fluffy copy of its parents. They peck at the ground, finding seeds and insects, talking to each other in soft, burbling sounds. You watch the quail until they disappear into the underbrush, and then you close your notebook and simply sit, letting the sun warm your face, letting the morning stretch out, unhurried and perfect. The afternoon unfolds with a slowness that would be impossible in your regular life. There, time always seems to be accelerating, always pushing you toward the next thing, the next obligation, the next task on an endless list. But here, time moves differently. It pools and eddies like the creek in its quieter moments. It allows for pauses, for drifting, for the kind of deep rest that is not about sleep, but about stopping. You have decided to do nothing today, not in a lazy way, not in an avoiding responsibility way, but in an intentional, deliberate way. You will let the day carry you instead of pushing through it. You will follow your curiosity and your comfort and nothing else. After a lunch of cheese and crackers and an apple eaten slowly in the dappled shade, you find yourself drawn to a patch of forest floor near the cabin. The ground here is soft with pine needles, and the recent rain has brought forth mushrooms in improbable variety. They push up through the needles and moss like small architectural wonders, each one a different shape and color. You lie down on your stomach, your face close to the ground, and examine them. There are tiny white ones, no bigger than a fingernail, growing in clusters. There are larger brown ones with gills arranged in perfect radial symmetry. There is one that looks like a shelf growing from a dead log, its surface smooth and leathery. Another resembles coral, all branching fingers reaching upward. At this scale, the forest floor becomes a landscape, a whole world. The pine needles are fallen trees, the pebbles are boulders. A beetle walks past your nose, and you watch its progress, the way its legs move in careful coordination, the way it navigates around obstacles, always knowing somehow where it is going. It climbs over a twig that must seem to it like a massive log, disappears into the miniature forest of moss. You roll onto your back and look up through the trees. The branches crisscross above you, creating a lattice against the sky. The wind moves through them, and they sway in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. You try to empty your mind, to think of nothing, but thoughts keep arising. Plans, worries, memories, conversations you need to have. You notice them, acknowledge them, and let them pass, returning your attention to the trees, to the sky, to the feeling of the ground beneath your back. This is harder than it should be, you realize. This simple act of being present, of not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow, but only about now. Your mind wants to wander, wants to solve problems, wants to replay old grievances or rehearse future scenarios. It takes effort to bring it back again and again to this moment, this breath, this patch of sky. But gradually, with practice, it becomes easier. The thoughts come less frequently, stay for shorter times. The gaps between them widen, and in those gaps, there is something else, a quietness that is not empty but full, a stillness that is not dead but vibrantly alive. In those gaps, you are simply aware, simply present, and the separation between you and the world around you becomes thin and permeable. A raven flies over, so close you can hear the rush of air through its feathers. Its shadow crosses your face, and you turn your head to watch it land in a tree nearby. It settles on a branch and looks down at you with bright, intelligent eyes. Ravens are clever, you know. They can solve puzzles, use tools, remember faces. This one tilts its head, considering you, and you have the strange feeling that it sees you more clearly than you see yourself. Hello, you say softly. The raven makes a sound, not a caw, but a softer, more conversational noise, almost like a question. I'm just lying here, you tell it, doing nothing. You probably think that's strange. The raven ruffles its feathers, preens its wing briefly, then flies off, disappearing into the deeper forest. You smile, feeling slightly foolish for talking to a bird, but also feeling oddly comforted by the interaction, by the sense that you're not alone, that this forest is full of other beings, each going about its life, each with its own purposes and patterns. You close your eyes and listen to the forest. Now that you're paying attention, you realize it is never truly quiet. There is always something. Wind in the branches, the distant sound of the creek, birds calling, insects humming, squirrels chattering. It is a symphony with no conductor, each player improvising. Yet somehow it all works together, creates a whole that is greater than its parts. You drift. Time passes. The sun moves across the sky, and the pattern of light and shadow shifts across your body. You are warm in the sun, cool in the shade. You are neither awake nor asleep, but somewhere in between, in a state that feels almost meditative. When you finally sit up, you feel profoundly rested, more rested than you have felt in months, maybe years. It is as if you have put down a weight you did not know you were carrying. Your shoulders feel looser. Your jaw, which you habitually clench without realizing it, is relaxed. Even your thoughts feel different, slower, calmer, less frantic. You make your way back to the cabin and pour yourself a glass of water. You stand at the window, drinking slowly, looking out at the clearing. The light is beginning to change again, taking on that golden quality that means the day is starting to think about ending. You have hours yet before sunset, but already you can feel the day turning, beginning its long, slow arc toward night. You think about dinner, but realize you are not hungry yet. Instead, you take one of the books you brought with you, a collection of essays about nature, and settle into the chair on the porch. You read slowly, pausing often to look up, to let the words settle, to watch a cloud drift past or a bird hop across the clearing. The essays are thoughtful and beautifully written, but you find that you cannot read for long stretches. Your attention wanders, not because the writing is dull, but because the world around you is so compelling. You read a paragraph about the migration of geese, and then you look up and think about migration, about how extraordinary it is that creatures with brains the size of walnuts can navigate thousands of miles year after year, finding their way by stars and magnetic fields and landmarks passed down through generations. You read about forests, about how trees communicate through underground networks of fungus, sharing nutrients and information. You look up at the ponderosas around the cabin and see them differently now, not as isolated individuals, but as members of a community, connected beneath the soil in ways invisible to you. The reading and the thinking and the looking blend together into a single, unified experience. The book is not separate from the forest. It is a meditation on the forest, an extension of it. The words on the page and the world around you are in conversation with each other, and you are the medium through which they speak. Eventually, the light shifts enough that reading becomes difficult. The shadows have grown long, and the sun is low enough that it shines directly into your eyes. You mark your place and set the book aside. Your stomach rumbles, reminding you that it has been many hours since lunch. You go inside and survey your remaining provisions. You have been here for 2 days. Or is it 3? You have lost track, which pleases you. Time should not be something you track on vacation, not something you meter out and measure. You have eggs, potatoes, an onion, some cheese. You decide on a simple scramble, fried potatoes on the side. The cooking itself becomes a meditation. You take your time, cut the potatoes carefully into even cubes. You heat the skillet until it is just right. Add butter. Listen to it sizzle. You cook the potatoes slowly, letting them brown properly, resisting the urge to stir them too often. You crack the eggs into a bowl, beat them until they are uniform and slightly frothy, season them with salt and pepper. The smell of the cooking fills the cabin, warm and homey. You plate the food and eat at the table, looking out the window. The deer has returned, or perhaps a different deer, you cannot tell, and is browsing at the edge of the clearing. You eat and watch the deer, and the deer occasionally glances toward the cabin, and you feel a sense of companionship, of peaceful coexistence. After dinner, you wash the dishes, dry them, put them away. The cabin is neat and ordered, and you realize that this orderliness, usually something you resist at home, has become important to you here. In this small space, keeping things tidy is not a chore, but a way of caring for the space that is caring for you. It is a reciprocal relationship. You tend to the cabin, and the cabin tends to you. The evening is mild, and you decide to take a short walk before the light fails completely. You follow the path downstream this time, away from the waterfall toward the valley. The creek is still running high from yesterday's rain, but it has calmed somewhat, and the water is beginning to clear. You walk perhaps half a mile before the path ends at a wider place where the creek flows into a small pond. The pond is fringed with cattails and willows, and its surface is completely still, a perfect mirror reflecting the sky. You approach quietly, instinctively, not wanting to disturb this perfect stillness. As you watch, ripples spread across the pond's surface. A fish has risen to take an insect. Then another rise, and another. The pond is alive with feeding fish, and as you watch, you see mayflies hatching, their delicate forms emerging from the water, drying their wings for a moment on the surface before taking flight. The fish are feasting on this emergence, rising again and again, each rise sending out concentric circles that intersect with other circles in complex, ever-changing patterns. You stand transfixed by this display, this reminder of the abundance of life, the way everything is eating and being eaten, the way death and life are not opposites but partners in an endless dance. The mayflies will mate in midair, lay their eggs, and die, their entire adult lives lasting perhaps a single evening. The fish will eat as many as they can, storing energy that will carry them through leaner times. The willows will drop leaves into the water that will become food for insects that will become food for fish. Round and round it goes, nothing wasted, everything connected. The light is fading fast now, and you turn back toward the cabin. The path is familiar enough that you can follow it even in the dimness. The forest is settling into its evening rhythms. You hear an owl call, then another answering it. Small rustlings in the underbrush, mice or voles beginning their nighttime foraging. A bat flickers past your head, and you duck instinctively, then laugh at yourself. The cabin appears ahead, a darker shape against the darkening trees. You have left a lamp burning inside, and the light glowing in the windows looks incredibly welcoming, like the embodiment of home. You climb the porch steps, push open the door, and step inside. The cabin receives you back into its warmth and familiarity. You are tired, a good, healthy tired, and you know that tonight you will sleep deeply. But it is not quite time for bed yet. You build a small fire just for the pleasure of it, and sit watching the flames while darkness settles completely outside. Tomorrow, you think, you will return to the world. You will pack up your few belongings, close up the cabin, drive back down the mountain road to the city and its noise and demands. But tonight, you are still here, still held in this pocket of peace. Tonight, the world can wait. You wake slowly, gradually, rising through layers of sleep, like a swimmer rising through water toward light. There are no dreams that you remember, or if there were, they have dissolved the moment you opened your eyes, leaving only a sense of having traveled somewhere deep and returned renewed. The cabin is filled with soft, gray light, dawn light, the light that comes before the sun has cleared the mountains. You lie still, reluctant to move, to break the spell of this perfect quietness. Your body feels heavy and relaxed, boneless almost, melted into the mattress. The quilt is warm around you, and the air on your face is cool, and the contrast between the two is delicious. This is your last morning at the cabin. Tomorrow, or is it today? You have lost track. You must return to your regular life, to work and responsibilities, and the 1,000 small demands that make up daily existence. The thought brings a small sadness, but not an overwhelming one. You have learned something here, you realize, something about simplicity and presence and the art of letting go. You have learned that you can be content with less than you thought you needed. You have learned that the best moments are often the quietest ones. You stretch beneath the quilt, feeling your joints pop and realign. Then you slip out of bed, your bare feet meeting the cool wooden floor. You wrap a blanket around your shoulders and move to the window. The world outside is shrouded in mist. The trees are barely visible, gray ghosts in the gray morning. The mist swirls and shifts, creating the illusion of movement where there is none, hiding and revealing the forest in slow waves. It is beautiful and slightly eerie, this in-between world, not quite day and not quite night, not quite weather and not quite clear. You make coffee, that familiar ritual that marks the beginning of each day. The percolator burbles and hisses on the stove, and the smell fills the cabin, warm and comforting. You pour a cup and take it outside, blanket still wrapped around you, and settle into the chair on the porch. The mist is cold against your face, and the air smells of moisture and earth. You cannot see the creek from here, but you can hear it, still running higher and faster than when you arrived. Everything else is muffled by the mist. Sounds seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, directionless, dreamlike. As you sit drinking your coffee, the world gradually reveals itself. The mist begins to thin and lift, rising like a curtain being drawn. First, the nearest trees emerge, their trunks becoming solid and real. Then the clearing takes shape, the grass heavy with dew. Then the far edge of the forest, the mountains beyond, the sky above. And the sun, you see it suddenly, a disk of pale gold rising above the ridge. The mist catches its light and glows, transformed from gray to gold, from ordinary to magical. For a few perfect minutes, the world exists in this state of transformation, neither mist nor clear, but something in between, something that cannot last, and therefore feels precious. You watch until the sun has fully risen, and the mist has burned away completely. The day that reveals itself is clear and bright, the air washed clean by the recent rain. It is, you realize, a perfect day, the kind of day that makes you grateful to be alive, to have eyes to see and skin to feel the warmth of the sun. You finish your coffee and go inside to make breakfast. You have eggs left and the last of the bread, and you make yourself a proper meal, taking your time, cooking the eggs just the way you like them. You eat at the table, planning your day. There are a few hours before you need to leave. You could spend them packing, making sure everything is tidy, preparing for departure. But that seems wrong somehow, too practical, too focused on the leaving rather than the being. Instead, you decide to spend this last morning the way you have spent the others, in the company of the creek, in the presence of the forest, simply being here for as long as you can. After breakfast, you clean up, then walk down to your favorite spot by the creek. The water has dropped overnight, and though it is still running higher than when you arrived, it is calmer now, clearer. You can see the stones on the bottom again, can see the small fish moving in the current. You remove your shoes and wade in, gasping at the cold. You stand in the current, feeling it push against your legs, feeling the smooth stones beneath your feet. The water is alive with movement and purpose, and you are part of it, standing in its flow, a temporary obstacle that it moves around without resentment, without effort. You think about flow, about how water always finds its way, always moves toward the lowest point, always adapts to whatever is in its path. Water does not fight or struggle. It yields, and in yielding, it conquers. It carves canyons through stone, not through force, but through patience, through the persistence of small actions repeated over immense spans of time. You want to be more like water, you think. Less rigid, more adaptable, less concerned with control, more willing to trust the process. Water does not worry about where it is going. It simply goes. And somehow it always arrives exactly where it needs to be. These thoughts feel important, though you know that when you return to your regular life, they will be easy to forget. The pressures and demands will close in, and the lessons of the creek will seem distant and abstract. But perhaps, you hope, something will remain. Perhaps some small part of this clarity will stay with you, like a smooth stone carried in a pocket, a touchstone to return to when things become overwhelming. You wade back to shore and sit on your rock to dry your feet in the sun. A breeze moves through the trees, and the leaves shimmer, each one catching the light. You notice that you are breathing slowly, deeply, your breath synchronized somehow with the movement of the water, the rustling of the leaves. You notice that your mind is quiet, not empty, but spacious, with room for whatever arises without being crowded or overwhelmed. This is it, you think. This is what you came here to find, not some grand revelation or mystical experience, but simply this: a quiet mind, a present moment, a sense of connection to something larger than yourself. It is so simple it is almost disappointing, except that it is not disappointing at all. It is perfect. You stay by the creek for a long time, until the sun is high and hot, and you know you can postpone leaving no longer. You stand, brush off your pants, and take one last look at the water, the trees, the mountains beyond. You try to fix it all in your memory, knowing even as you do that memory is imperfect, that what you will carry away is not the exact image, but something more like a feeling, an essence. Thank you, you say quietly, to the creek, to the forest, to the mountains. It feels right to express gratitude, even though there is no one to hear it, or perhaps because there is no one to hear it. The gratitude is not for them, but for you, a way of acknowledging what you have received. You walk back to the cabin and begin the work of packing. It does not take long. You brought little, and you are leaving with no more than you came with, except, perhaps, for that stone in your pocket, the smooth one you picked up from the creek bed yesterday. It feels cool and solid in your hand, a piece of this place you can carry with you. You strip the bed, shake out the quilt, fold it neatly, and leave it on the chair. You wash the last few dishes, wipe down the counters, sweep the floor. You check the fireplace to make sure the ashes are completely cold. You turn off the propane, close the windows, take one last look around to make sure you have forgotten nothing. The cabin looks ready for the next person who will come seeking what you sought. You hope they find it. You hope they hear the creek's song and feel the forest's peace. You hope they remember, as you will try to remember, that this simplicity is always available, that it does not require a cabin in the mountains to access it, only the willingness to slow down, to pay attention, to let go. You carry your bag out to the car and put it in the trunk. Then you stand for a moment, keys in hand, looking back at the cabin. It stands as it has stood for 70 years, patient and enduring, asking nothing, offering everything. You get in the car and start the engine. As you drive away, following the dirt road back toward the paved highway, you watch the cabin in your rearview mirror, growing smaller and smaller until the trees hide it from view. Then there is only the road ahead, winding down through the forest, carrying you back to the world. But you carry something with you too, the sound of the creek, the smell of pine, the feeling of standing in cold water under a warm sun. You carry the memory of stillness, of simplicity, of a time when you were nothing more and nothing less than a person breathing in the mountain air, alive and present and enough. The road curves and the trees thin, and ahead you can see the valleys spreading out, the towns and roads, and all the complexity of human civilization. You take a deep breath and let it out slowly, feeling something settle inside you. You have been away from the world for only a few days, but it feels longer, feels like you have traveled much farther than the miles would suggest. You are returning changed, though the changes are subtle, internal. No one will see them but you. But you will know. You will remember. And someday, when the noise and hurry become too much, when you feel yourself losing touch with what matters, you will close your eyes and hear it. The creek, always flowing, always singing its patient song. And you will know that it is still there, waiting. The cabin, the forest, the mountains, the creek. Always there, always waiting, whenever you need to return.